The Council operates as a top authority on economic development initiatives and programs and disseminates information on the local level to help strengthen the economy of our city. So far, we have accomplished this task together. Have some water. Okay. So far, we have accomplished this task together by making sure that you, the leaders of your organizations, are educated on the most up-to-date resources, including free services and programs, funding opportunities, and capacity-building functions available to small businesses. To ensure information is readily available to you, I will continue to supply vital resource updates through email, as well as bring you to the city's foremost experts in the field. And we have our own expert right here on our staff, and that is...
It wasn't planned.
Okay. All right. To ensure information is readily available to you, I will continue to... I think I said that wrong. That brings us to today. We have two very special guest speakers, Robin Wilner, who will speak about an initiative launched by Mayor Michael Bloomberg, the City Council, and the New York Academy of Medicine. And as our keynote speaker is Deputy Mayor Robert Steele. I've asked Mrs. Wilner to join us to speak about the Age-Friendly Business Initiative, specifically a local retail initiative that is being launched throughout the city of New York. Melva Miller of my staff, who I just introduced, is a member of our Age-Friendly Business Working Group and regularly provides me with updates and progress on the initiatives. But because this program can assist in the growth of our commercial district, it is vital to the healthy aging of our senior population. I wanted to pass this information on to you. Ms. Willer, would you please come up? Okay. And maybe fill us in.
Thank you so much.
Sure. I'll sit with you.
Borough President, thank you so much for this opportunity and this impressive collection this morning. This is a great opportunity. I also want to thank the Deputy Mayor for being here, and I know that I'm standing between you and the Deputy Mayor's presentation, so I will be brief and to the point. And I really want to thank the Queens Economic Development Leadership Council. This is a very impressive group, and we so appreciate the opportunity to bring you our message on age-friendly New York City and age-friendly retailers. Let me just add to the Borough President's comments about Melva, who's always on the move and doing things. I just lost her. But Melva Miller, who is an incredible member of our Age-Friendly Commission. And there are three other members from Queens. Suzanne Towns is here and has been a great contributor. I believe Jack Friedman and Gail Barron are also joining us today, and we so appreciate all of your input. So there is a very, very significant and important demographic change that is going on in our city. Right now, the number of New Yorkers who are 60 and over is increasing every day. And in the next 20 years, it will increase by 50%. That means that in 20 years, by 2030, 1 out of every 5 New Yorkers will be 60 and over. And we want to make sure that all of those New Yorkers are active, they are participating in the great life of New York City, they are contributing to the economic development of New York City. We don't want to think of them as a population that needs services. We want to think of them as a population that is excited and enthusiastic and giving back. The other thing that we've all learned is that when we do things to make the city age-friendly, we all benefit. You know, we learned this 20 years ago with the Americans with Disability Act, right? When we made curb cuts, it was good for somebody in a wheelchair, and it was great for a mother with a stroller, and it was great for somebody going shopping with a shopping cart. You know, these things don't just help one person. And it's the same thing with age-friendly. When we make the city more age-friendly, we find resources that are good for all of us, and they can then contribute back. Think of the resources that older people bring to our children and to our institutions, and as volunteers potentially, as advisors. There's an enormous opportunity. There's one thing in particular that we've been focusing on with the age-friendly business working group. Because, remember I mentioned that 1 out of every 5 New Yorkers was going to be 60 or over? Well, how about thinking about them as 1 million customers? That means something for all of you, right? And we want to make sure that they are, in fact, spending actively in New York City in our commercial neighborhoods. You know, older Americans in this country, they spend $1 trillion a year. That's a market. And they control more than 3/4 of the assets that are in personal hands in this country. And in New York, they spend more per capita at retail stores, at banks, at grocery stores than any other age group. And one more thing that's very important to this group, they are loyal customers. So when they know you are age-friendly, they will come to your stores, they will come to your outlets, they will come to your restaurants, and they will tell their friends. So this is a market that you want to have. So age-friendly is good for our seniors, and it's something that we really want you to think about as a target market and a business opportunity. So what's the age-friendly business initiative, the retail initiative? It's simple. We have some great, simple information for businesses on 10 ways to become age-friendly. They are all no cost or low cost, and I mean really low cost. These are easy things to do. You put up signs anyway, make the signage easy for somebody to read. It's a simple example. You know what one of the best ways to get seniors into your store or into your bank or into your restaurant is? It's easy. Have an extra chair for them to sit down on. And you know what? The Age-Friendly New York City Commission, we have chairs for you. And we will give you a chair so that you can put out. We just launched this initiative in East Harlem on Friday. We got incredible media attention. And what's East Harlem? We need to be in Queens. So I'm here today, and again, thank you to the Borough President and to Melvin Miller for inviting us to let you know about this initiative and to make sure that we are identifying the right bids, the right local chambers, and the right LDCs who can help to sponsor this work. We have training for seniors to go out and spread the word, so it really is a no-cost effort. We have great decals that you can't see, but you can put them in the window and say, I'm an age-friendly business. We have brochures, we have the materials, so this is a really no-cost effort, but it will benefit from both directions. We're going to have seniors who will feel comfortable going out, being active, and we know that your business members are going to be happy. We have seen restaurants who are finding new ways to have early dinners and early services. We have great services at banks and at pharmacists, and this is just a win-win. So with that, again, if there are any questions, I'll take one or two, and then I want to hand it over to the Deputy Mayor, who I know has a lot more to share with you. Please.
Good morning. My name is Issa from Farmers Boulevard Community Development Corp. Is there an application process that an LDC would have to go through?
We just need your name and contact information, and we'll follow up. And Radhika Patel, who is our incredible staff person, is going to be here all morning, and she will be collecting cards. Any other questions? Yes. Okay. Queens wants their share of chairs, Radhika. We'll have to work this out. But the earlier you get on the initiative, the more chairs you get, so, That's the way it works. Sign up now. Okay. Well, great. Thank you very much, and we look forward to spreading the word in Queens.
Thank you for that wonderful idea. Okay, and today 60 is pretty young. And to tell you the truth, if you haven't gathered things and saved your money and invested properly, you pretty much do that by the time you're 60, okay? Some people are also getting unemployed at 60, teachers, and we have a high unemployment rate, okay? But I'm not going to go on a sad note because today is a happy day, okay? It's my pleasure to introduce you to Deputy Mayor Robert Steele. the New York City Deputy Mayor for Economic Development. We have met with him in City Hall, and he was wonderful. He was very engaging with us, talked a lot about what goes on in City Hall, and we were able to do some really nice exchange of discussion. Since taking over from Robert Lieber last year, the Deputy Mayor has been steadfast in his commitment to Queens. How about that, okay? Working with my office, the Deputy Mayor and his staff has moved forward large projects like Hunters Point South in Long Island City, which is growing in great volume, led the charge in working with landlords of blighted properties ripe for development, and Far Rockaway has been an advocate for the continued growth of areas like downtown Jamaica that consistently faces challenges set forth by policies that contradict this administration's efforts towards economic progress. Deputy Mayor, I would take this opportunity to recognize Robert Goldrich of your staff, who remains a devoted economic advancement in Queens, has made your transition working with our office effortless and productive. Thank you, Rob. There he is. Okay. He's been around. I don't know if he's 60 yet. He doesn't look like he's 60 yet. Okay. Deputy Mayor Steele has served as Undersecretary of Domestic Finance for the United States Treasury, has been the President and CEO of Wachovia Corporation, and has served as Vice Chair of Goldman Sachs. We seem to get a lot of Deputy Mayors from Goldman Sachs, okay? Today, the Deputy Mayor will discuss city's efforts to address both the continuing near-term economic challenges as well as ways to position New York for long-term economic growth, specifically critical infrastructure and neighborhood development investment projects. I request that you all save your questions until the end of the Deputy Mayor's presentation. Deputy Mayor Steele?
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here, and also thanks to all of you for rescheduling. As you may remember, we had originally planned to do this earlier in the year, and there was a snow event at City Hall. We're now back talking about snow after there was a period of time where that wasn't one of our favorite topics. So thanks for, hopefully we have redeemed ourselves and done a better job with the last few storms. But it's great that you could reschedule and offer us the time after we had to adjust. Borough President Marshall, thanks for that generous introduction. And thank you to the Queens Economic Development Leadership Council for the opportunity to visit with you today. Helen's a fantastic partner to us at City Hall and has been a tireless advocate for your borough and for minority and women-owned businesses and for a number of the important economic initiatives that the city is focused on here in Queens. Things like Willets Point, Hunters Point South, and Flushing Commons, as she mentioned, are just a few of the things that are really in the front of her mind, and that she's a tireless advocate for your borough. Is that okay now? Can people hear me? Or okay? Okay, I do that. Electronics aren't my. I think we'll need a woman again. I have one wife and 3 daughters, so I assume that a woman is the way to solve things. So I'm kind of used to that idea. But I'm going to dive in and we'll just see, and I'll just speak a little louder then, and we'll see how it goes, if that's okay. And if you can't, just kind of tell me to speak up, okay? Thanks in the back. So, and also, Robin, thank you for the comments today about what you're working on in those projects. True confession is that this will be the year that I become one of those people for her that we're focused on, so I'm paying a lot of attention to the initiatives that affect the elderly. And so that's a good thing she's thinking about. So it is an honor for me to speak today to such a wonderful collection of business and community leaders throughout Queens about the things that the Bloomberg administration is doing their best to promote in the 5-borough strategy of trying to think about economic development. Responsibilities the mayor has given to me and to my team in economic development really break down in my mind into 2 types of frameworks that we want to think about. Those that we're doing in the very short term and those that we are trying to still keep moving forward on for the longer term. And so we have both of those things. There are things we need to be doing for today and accepting the challenges of today, but we also can't stop planning for the future. And so maybe today, let me organize my comments along those lines and try to lay things out. But before I do that, why don't we just take a second and pause and just understand a snapshot of what is the reality today. You know, before you start a project, I think it's best to say, time out, where are we right now? And I think that's something that requires a bit of focus. I think that there's a positive side, and that is that we're adding jobs faster than the rest of the economy in the United States. We also have a slightly lower unemployment rate than the rest of the United States. And the good news is that people want to be in New York. We had record tourism last year, almost 48 million people, and we also have a population that's growing, which is very different than most other big cities in America. So people want to be in New York, either to visit or to live, and those are positive advantages that we have for our city that we just can't lose sight of. And I think that by any measure, this is a big strength for going forward for the city. But I want to pause on right now and say that while I can take time to tell you about how well things are going, we're not where we want or need to be. That too many people are struggling. Unemployment, particularly in areas like the Bronx and among young black and Hispanic men, is way too high. And also, as it's come down, I think the numbers are starting to come down, that there is a lingering effect here, that some people have stopped looking for work, and that the numbers actually, I think, I wouldn't take much solace in this. I think there's a lot to do. And so while we want to talk about the good things, I also want to pause and be realistic and talk about the fact that this is a top priority. And we talk at City Hall, and when I talk to the mayor, it's jobs, jobs, and jobs is what we're focused on. So I think that while I can tell you what's going on well, we also are going to focus on the things that we think need our attention. Also, there is a housing crisis which has also affected New York. In most places in the United States, the housing crisis has expressed itself as a single-family challenge. If you go to places like California, Arizona, Nevada, and Florida, the challenge is single-family houses. We have some of that problem here in New York, but we have a different problem that does not exist in those places, and that is the multifamily issue, where there are people that have apartment buildings, where the apartment buildings have become over-levered, and therefore the owners, because of the pressures they're facing economically, begin to underinvest in the buildings, not keep them up, and as a result, the tenants are being affected. So this is a different expression of the same problem that exists in other places. And so what do we do about it? I think that we're committed to helping homeowners stay in their houses, but we also want to work with banks to help vulnerable homeowners. We're going to focus on the long-term economy and doing what we can to make sure this safety net is as big and as broad as it can be. So let me now shift, as I said I would, to both the short-term and the longer-term initiatives that we're thinking about, accepting, though, that we are dealing with these challenges, and I think that you would want us to, first and foremost, think about the issue of jobs and how to help keep people in their homes. So I think with this proactivity of job placement and housing, which is the near-term issue, as I said, is that last year, through our Small Businesses Service Group, we placed 30,000 New Yorkers in jobs. The Queens Workforce One Center in Jamaica was responsible for 7,000 of these placements. The mayor recently announced that we're going to be opening 10 more express centers to focus on job placement, with our goal of going from 30,000 this past year to 40,000 in the year 2011 of people that we match with jobs. And if you haven't been to one of these facilities, they're quite good, and you can see the enthusiasm as people go online, they build their skills, they get counseling, and then are better prepared to go get jobs. And the other thing that's happened is that now companies are coming to us and using our workforce centers as a way to organize their hiring efforts. So businesses are coming to us and saying, we need people to do this, can you help us find the right people? So the matching that's going on is quite a good thing. I want to talk a bit more about the housing issue that I said, that what we've decided is to go with what we're calling a proactive enforcement initiative to basically try to monitor the 5,000 buildings that are of this multifamily type that could be vulnerable, where people might start to underinvest or not be investing into the buildings. So what we've done is stepped up our enforcement initiative to be more vigilant to combat these problems. During the coldest days, we have inspectors working around the clock to make sure landlords are meeting their obligations to tenants. So far this year, we've issued almost 8,500 heat or hot water violations and initiated almost 2,500 heat and hot water cases in housing court. This is a first line of defense of making sure that tenants are being treated fairly and that our citizens are safe and able to enjoy a safe and warm home. Our commitment to preserving and creating affordable housing has also helped to spur and drive job creation. In 2009 and 2010, under the new housing marketplace plan, Mayor Bloomberg's overall strategy for moving forward on new housing, we have financed nearly half of the number of units that were permitted during those years. So these are some of the things we're doing to address the immediate challenges in a time we accept of economic uncertainty. So now let me shift, as I said I would, to some of the longer term initiatives, keeping in mind that this is also what we can't give up on, and that we can't pull ourselves in and just focus on the short term issues. We have to do both. As an administration, we're focused on ways to make it as easy as possible to open and expand a business in New York City. Remember what I talked about with jobs, and jobs come from new businesses. We are a progressive, pro-job creation administration. That's our goal, and that means thinking about businesses as customers of the city. The newly created NYC Business Express will ultimately be a one-stop shop online for those people who want to open a business. We've also rolled out a new business acceleration team that's helped nearly 200 businesses, primarily restaurants, open since it kicked off in early 2010. I was meeting with a new restaurateur the other day, and they described the lags and delays and frustration they had from when they took over the facility and started paying rent, and how long it took till they could start to serve customers and begin to collect revenue. And we've got to do everything we can to collapse that period so they can get to work and start generating revenue to cover the nut that they have with their obligations as soon as we can. And that's something that Deputy Mayor Goldsmith and I have spent a lot of time on. And I think that from our perspective, that thinking about this is a focus. Our NYC Business Solution Center in Queens provided business assistance to nearly 3,000 customers last year and helped secure more than $2 million in financing for customers. The key word here is customers. In City Hall, we think of people that want to start a business as our customers, and what can we do to help our customers be successful? And that will circle back to help solve the jobs issue. The administration also is supporting a series of regulatory reforms designed to reduce the administrative burden on businesses so they can open and get in business as soon as they can. This doesn't mean that we're not aware of the issue. Rules and regulations are meant to balance the tension between consumer protection and safety and helping business. But we need to get the balance right so that we can get businesses going as quickly as possible, but also keep in mind our responsibility that regulations are to protect the citizens. So that's the tension that we want to always be thinking about. Part of ensuring that businesses can afford to open also means not burdening them with costs that they can avoid elsewhere. There's been a lot of discussion lately about locally driven wage policies in connection with development projects. And what we've done is, through EDC, commission a study to determine the potential impact of the proposed living wage rules. We're open-minded and look forward to hearing and seeing the results of the study, which should be this summer. But let me be clear about our historic philosophy. Our historic philosophy is that when the city evaluates potential investments, the most important lens that we will use will be job creation. As the mayor has often said, New York City has to be open for business. In a climate of continued high unemployment and underemployment, jobs have to be first, second, and third. I could go on a bit more about the near-term initiatives that we're dealing with in the challenging economy, but I promised Helen that I wouldn't keep you all day, so let me just assure you that you can be confident that we're going to be vigilant and proactive in the face of the continued economic headwinds. We also do our best, however, to make sure we don't take the eye off the ball with respect to the long-term economic trajectory of the city. So let's spend a few minutes talking about the longer-term things that we're thinking about for the many, many years ahead. One of the hallmarks of Mayor Bloomberg's administration has been our commitment to invest in neighborhood redevelopment projects to spur growth and private investment in all 5 of the boroughs. We've launched a number of what we think are bold investments across the city over the past 9 years, and now is not a time when we intend to waver. Major long-term initiatives are always going to span economic cycles. We'll have to work through these slower times and not let that slow us down from a longer-term commitment. Here in Queens, we pledge to continue our work in Long Island City, Willets Point, Flushing Commons, downtown Jamaica, Hunters Point South. We believe these projects, individually and collectively, have the ability to be transformative for your community. Helen and I were there with the mayor and Councilman Van Brimmer just a few weeks ago to announce the fantastic news of the selection of the development team for the residential portion of the Hunters Point South plan. And both as we saw the visuals of the image of what the buildings and facilities would look like, and also when we walked to the site and saw where it would be, it was exciting. And when completed, this area will be the home to the largest new affordable housing development since the early 1970s, with magnificent waterfront views of Manhattan, as well as a beautiful park and a new school on what today is essentially a vacant lot. Under the developer's plans, at least 75% of the housing will be permanently targeted to low, moderate, and middle-income families, up from the 60% which was the original request in the RFP. Infrastructure work, including the installation of sewers, water mains, roadways, sidewalks, and parking, will begin next month, and it's expected to be completed during the spring of 2013. Park construction will also begin this summer. The 2 residential buildings, including the retail space, will begin construction in 2012 and are expected to take up to 24 months to complete. The new school, which will be built by the New York City Schools Construction Authority, is scheduled to open in the fall of 2013. Now, it's one thing to talk about facilities, but I always think it's better to think about, let's use the same word, what they facilitate. This area will become the home for 810 new families, and we'll have a park, schools, all developing right there. So it's not about the buildings, it's about the lives that will be affected and the facilitation of what these facilities will do. And it's really a great thing for us all to think about and be proud of. When we're back at Hunters Point South over the next few years to open the school, the park, and residential buildings, we'll have accomplished something truly historic. Another important large-scale economic development project in Queens is Willets Point. As you all know, Willets sits between Citi Field and all of the transportation infrastructure and the resurgent Flushing and Corona neighborhoods. But without a significant investment in cleaning up and then developing Willets Point, that entire area will be unable to realize what we believe to be its full potential. And so even in this challenging fiscal environment, the project is funded in the current budget and remains a top priority that will create new jobs and housing, clean up the environment, and improve the quality of nearby waterways. We've made significant progress already, and almost 90% of the property in the area has been acquired, and we continue to negotiate with the remaining property owners. We are confident we will receive the necessary regulatory approvals for the ramps in the coming months and expect to issue the RFP for a developer for the first phase in second quarter 2011 after having received 29 responses to our request for qualifications in year 2009. Now, there are 4 other boroughs that we like to spend some time on as well besides Queens, which the borough president lets us do to a small degree. So we're going to continue to make critical investment in other neighborhoods of redevelopments around the city, and whether that's Coney Island, downtown Brooklyn, Hudson Yards, and Lower Manhattan, where after what seemed like slow progress, the shape of the foundation of Lower Manhattan is now becoming clear. For those of you that haven't been down, there's really a change in Lower Manhattan with the whole World Trade Center area. For many years, the work was being done 3, 4, and 5 levels down and not clear to the human eye. Today, when you go, you can see things that are happening, and it really is coming to pass.